Very well. Good afternoon once again, and welcome to the June 12th joint meeting of Glendale City Council and Glendale Housing Authority. May we have the roll call for City Council, please?
Councilmember Agajanian.
Present.
Devine.
Here.
Garabetian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Mayor Sinanian.
Here. Housing Authority, please?
Housing Authority member Devine.
Here.
Garabetian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Farazian.
Here.
Sinanian.
Here.
Chair Agajanian.
Present.
May we have the report, please?
The agenda for the June 12, 2018 joint public meeting of the City Council and Housing Authority was posted on Friday, June 8, 2018 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. What's next?
One would be Director of Community Services and Parks regarding fiscal year 2018-19, proposal annual action plan for community development, block grant, CDBG, emergency solutions grant, ESG, and home investment partnership Act home programs. 1A, motion of the City Councils approving the annual action plan and authorizing the submission of the revised annual action plan to the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Hi, Maggie.
Good afternoon, Mayor Sinanian, members of the City Council, and members of the Housing Authority. I'm Maggie Kavarian, Senior Community Services Supervisor with the CDBG program. I'm here to present a PowerPoint today with our revised proposed 2018-2019 CDBG, ESG, and Home Revised Annual Action Plan. On April 17th, the joint meeting of the City Council and Housing Authority approved the original CDBG, ESG, and Home Annual Action Plan based on estimated numbers. However, on May 1st, HUD released actual allocations, and we had something that they consider a special circumstance, a special amendment, where CDBG, ESG, and Home received funding that was, there we go. There was a change in allocation amount of funding, which was $252,537 in additional CDBG funding, $863 reduced funding in ESG, and $396,346 in additional home funding. So we contacted HUD and we asked, what do we do? How do we move forward with this? We had a CDBG Advisory Committee special meeting, called back our members, and our chair, Lila Ramirez, headed that meeting on May 14th, and they made recommendations on the additional monies. We also advertised in the Glendale News Press, and because of the timeline, the public hearing is actually today, so if anyone is here today to speak, they may. And we ask that today that the Council and the Housing Authority approve and the final revised annual action plan. So as you can see, the estimated amount was originally estimated for CDBG was 14%, is now 14% more. That was an increase. For ESG, it's less than 1%, and for home, it was a 30% increase in entitlement funding for 18-19. This is the breakdown of the CDBG funding plan. It's $1.9 million, but that also includes Return Door of Hope flooring project money dollars that are in there. For administration, which is 20% of the grant, that's $370,000. For social services, which is the public social services projects, 15% goes towards that. That's $288,880. And then for capital improvement projects, 65%, a bulk of that is capital improvement projects. With, it says 6 community projects, but it's actually 7 community projects that receive funding, and 3 city projects that are pre-designated. So if we look over here at the Public Social Services funding recommendations, the CDBG Advisory Committee granted pretty much CASP's Salvation Army, Glendale Youth Alliance, and Armenian Relief Society, along with Catholic Charities, additional monies. So there was a $37,880 increase in funding. So everyone received funding. Of the pre-approved the city CIP projects, there was no additional funding recommended. They continued with the $640,000 that was originally recommended. And then for community CIP projects, we had an additional $164,000, with a bulk of that going to the YWCA Sunrise Village Emergency Shelter, as well as the HVAC system at North Campus, Homenetman Ararat chapter. The only the only proposal that wasn't funded was the HVAC system at the main campus of the Homeland Ararat chapter, which gives them 4 out of 5. 4 out of the 5 proposals they had were funded fully. So this again is a breakdown of our total capital improvement projects with pretty much 50-50 going to both city and community. And we have one new provider, that is the gift program, All for Health, Health for All. And that's, we recommend that you approve the revised 18-19 CDBG, ESG, and Home Annual Action Plan. That's the end of the report. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Questions?
Yes.
The public social services funding recommendations, how many applications have you received?
We received 8, and all 8 were funded.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And on the project, the CIP projects?
We received 8, and 7 out of 8 were funded.
So the one that was not funded
Was-
was the HVAC system for
Main campus.
the main campus? Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Gajanian?
As I mentioned before, we have to reach to other nonprofit organizations because there are very few organizations in Glendale that they receive the benefit of CDBG. And I know that some of them, they are, struggling to make the budget whole. I mean, we have to reach to all organizations, legitimate one, which they have been around for years. I'm not talking about the nonprofit, which is formed a year or so, but those who have been around, they worked hard, they have, people benefited from their services. As I mentioned before, I want to emphasize again, we have to reach them before year ends, not to wait to the last second and then say we have only 8 organizations, 8 of them received the benefit of CDBG. So please consider for the next year.
Councilmember Alajanian, we definitely will consider that. At the April 17th meeting, we had considered having 2 technical assistance meetings, and we are definitely moving forward with that plan, which will be a technical assistance meeting in summertime, as well as the one that's always scheduled in October and November
Thank you.
in the fall.
So just to follow up on that, during my CDBG days, that's a good 9 to 6 years ago, there used to be 24 applicants for the social programs funds. Now it's down to 8. And what do you attribute that to? Is this just a matter of the amount getting smaller and folks don't want to apply because the hurdles are too many and the processing is tedious?
Correct. Mayor Sinanian, that is correct. When you were on the CDBG board, I'm sure the monies were a lot more. The trend seems to be going up. I'm hopefully optimistic that it is going up, and with that will come more agencies applying. But at this time, I believe it's because of the reduced monies that I don't want to say they've given up, but they aren't applying like they used to. But now that we're going to do more outreach, and with the CDBG dollars going up in entitlement funds, we're very optimistic that we get more agencies applying.
Okay. Ms. Devine?
Yes, I have a question on the, you have one new social service provider, and I'm not familiar with that particular one. Can you explain what they do, what the service is?
So GIFT program is housed actually at Community Services and Parks, at the Cedar House at Heritage Garden Park. And they are the All for Health, Health for All is it's a medical company, but basically what they are going to provide is youth counseling, mental health, behavioral health resources to teens and youth and their families.
And this is the first time they've ever received?
This is their first time applying for public social services.
Good, thank you.
That name sounds familiar.
All for Health is pretty much everywhere in the area, but
Okay.
they're just, yes.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Agajanian,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Mayor Sinanian.
Yes. Thank you. Next item, please.
Director of Finance and Community Development regarding adoption of the 2018-19 Glendale Housing Authority budget with approval of professional services, contract, and supportive budget for the fiscal year. 2A would be resolution, the City Council approving expenditures of low moderate income housing asset funds for administrative expenses and expenditures outside redevelopment project areas for the 2018-19 Housing Authority budget. 2B, resolution of the Housing Authority adopting the 2018-19 Housing Authority budget. C, motion of Housing Authority approving a contract with Heritage Housing Partners in the amount of $1 million. D would be motion of the City Council approving an amendment to the professional service agreement with Emphasis Software to increase the contract amount by $29,752.
Mr. Lanzafame?
Mr. Mayor, before you move on, I think we need to take roll for the Housing Authority. I think the council.
Oh,
Previous item.
okay. So back to item number 1. Roll call for the Housing Authority.
Authority Member Devine,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Parazian,
Yes.
Sinanian,
Yes.
Chair Agajanian.
Yes.
Okay, back to item number 2. Mr. Lanzafame?
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Mr. Chairman, members of the Housing Authority. This is the Housing Authority's budget for 2018-19. You have seen much of this information already as part of your study sessions on the city budget. So we'll quickly go over the figures that are here. General summary of our sources of funds. Again, that hasn't changed year over year. Our Housing Choice Voucher Program still the biggest program that we have in our budget. We currently are authorized for 1592 vouchers. We have 1,400 port. Those are people coming in from other cities, and that is our administration fee. That is how we pay for the staffing, our case management for all of our some 3,000 Section 8 households. Housing development is another part. We generate funds through HOME from the federal government. It was included in the last report you heard because we do a consolidated plan. We budget those HOME funds here in the housing agency's budget. Our low mod income housing, affordable housing fund, that is the old redevelopment dollars that flowed. We project about $2 million. That is from the city's or the agency's repayment of the city loan. 20% of that repayment goes to fund affordable housing. And then we still have some loan and residual rent income that we generate. The continuum of care, again, you heard that in the last, this is implemented by Community Services and Parks. I'm sorry, you didn't hear it in the last. This is implemented by Community Services and Parks as part of their homeless assistance program. We do budget it here in your budget. On the revenue side, here is the picture. Again, $44 million budget. The lion's share is Section 8, almost $38 million. Almost 2.5 is that continuum of care. We have some other begin dollars. Those are federal dollars. Those are tied up in the Dorn Gardens project. We have some low moderate income housing asset fund, about $2.2 million. That's that loan repayment and some additional project income. This is the appropriation side. It looks very similar, where we also show you year over year. We have an increase in costs in our Housing Assistance Fund, Section 8. That is because our cap has gone up, how much we would allow in assistance. So we think that's about another $5.5 million of costs. It doesn't bring on more people, it's costs of existing vouchers. So there will be a corresponding increase on the revenue side that we will hope to get from HUD.
Let me ask you a question about that.
Yes.
So I understand how that works for our vouchers. How about the portables? Our costs are going up, but yet the portables are coming to us, or the funding's coming to us through a different city, how do we sort of communicate our increased cost to LA or Los Angeles County or
I'll let
whoever it is that's
Peter Zovek
getting yeah.
respond.
That is a pass-through cost, and so when we do make adjustments to our payment standards, we let large agencies like port agencies know of that, and it's something that they have to absorb through their budget process.
So they, on their turn, have to turn around and tell the federal government, HUD, that the portables, their portables that are ported out are costing them more money. I'm just wondering how smooth of a process is this? If we increase our cost, yet they're unable to recover it from the federal government, are we stuck with the bill?
No, we are not. It would be the porting agency that would be
They would have to absorb it.
correct. And so they'll have to go through a decision process as to whether or not they might have to recall their portable vouchers in order to reduce their costs or take some other measure to make up that gap if HUD does not want to fill that gap.
Has that ever happened?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so no one's ever recalled a portable voucher
No.
because of that.
Questions, man?
Okay, another question?
The summary of appropriations and the summary of revenues. 17-18, we had $32 million, and 18-19, we have $38 million, which is $5.5 million increase. Would that translate into increase in vouchers as well, or it would not?
No, that's that incremental increase in monthly assistance that we're offering our existing voucher holders. So that $5.5 million is merely an increased cost that we will have to get funding for to make up. It does not allow us to bring on more vouchers.
So when you say increasing our base, basically if a one-bedroom was $1,100, now we pay them like $1,200. That's what we're increasing the base of the rent?
As in, those aren't the exact numbers, but yes.
Yeah, it was an example.
That's the concept, yes.
Right, okay. All right, thank you.
And then here is the picture, revenues and appropriations year over year. Basically the same. We have about $500,000 in net where we don't expect to be spending that. Some trends, we've tried to give this to you on a going forward basis. This is that concept we were just talking about, Mr. Garpetian. Our unit costs have gone from $805 to projected $970. And so we will need that additional funding to cover that. Our ports have slightly increased, and our administrative fee is, it's a note for you. The administrative fee it's a prorated amount, 76%. So we do not get 100% of that administration fee that we would like to. HUD takes the other 24% of that. In terms of housing development, our home funds, you heard in the last report, an increase of 33%. We project that to remain for the year following, 1920. The city loan repayment following this year, we think that there's another $1 million, and then the loan should be paid off. But that would come in fiscal year 1920. Our program income, we've increased it to $605,000. Dorn Gardens, home resales, we expect some of those, and I'm talking about the item later with Heritage Housing Partners. But we expect to see some homes sold there, so we'll want to take action to maintain their affordability. The housing bond funds, it says there in fiscal year 20, we actually think that, we know, we got approval from the Department of Finance on a majority of our housing bonds. So there'll probably be, it's about $7.5 million that we will be transferring into our housing funds July 1. Got approval from that, so that's good news from us. There's still about $1 million that we're discussing with the Department of Finance. Continuum of Care grant, again, They will continue to renew and add a project, some possible future funding in Measure H, and we'll be talking about some ideas for that later on today, and then the new state program there for ESG. Last is in the housing strategy that you approved earlier, actually I think it was late last year, advocate for long-term funding of affordable housing. That is part of our program. In terms of, before I get to the contracts, there is an item that both the Housing Authority and the City Council will ask you to make findings that the expenditure of dollars outside of the redevelopment project areas are of benefit to the project areas. This allows you to spend affordable housing dollars anywhere in the city. This is a holdover from redevelopment. However, it stayed in the law when redevelopment was abolished. So out of an abundance of caution, we ask you to make those findings. The Housing Authority and City Council had every year prior. Couple things. Along with Doran Gardens, we would like to establish, we did this last year, but we didn't need it, so we'd like to do it again, establish a $1 million line of credit. This will help us if there is a sale at Doran Gardens. The Housing Authority has first right of refusal. This will give us immediate funds to make that purchase, and there's a formula that calculates what the maximum that can be. But we'll make that purchase using these funds, and then HHP will, acting on our behalf, they will fix up that, make it ready for resale. They will go out and market to another family of affordable income, and they will take care of all of the processing to resell that unit. Once we resell that unit, we'll replenish the funds. So it's a bit of a revolving fund for us so that when the opportunity comes up, we can buy one of those units and resell it to a family of affordable income. That agreement is scheduled for 3 years. We'd like to do that.
Yeah, my question was, when we sell these homes that we've purchased, we don't make money on those homes. We just simply make the investment whole. In other words, just get out of it what we put in?
That's correct. The purpose behind this is to maintain that affordability so that it doesn't go to market rate.
And the affordability, I guess it's like a covenant on the title?
Yes, and believe on a for sale project, we have them 45 years.
45 years. So if someone holds on to the property for over 45 years,
then they could sell it at market. We are also recommending this a change order, but in actuality, it's our annual funding for the Emphasis Elite System. This is our management system that we use for Section 8. It was a long-term commitment that we made. We've been using it for about 10 years. A lot of the housing authorities do use it. The $29,000 is the anticipated cost for next year. One of the things we really like about the system is it is HUD's preferred system, so our software systems talk to one another. It's also City of Los Angeles, HOCLA's system that they use. They are the largest provider of portable vouchers to us, so it's very advantageous for us to have software that talks to one another. So with that, I ask if there's any questions or comments, but I would tell you our recommendation is that the Housing Authority and the City Council both adopt those findings for expenditures outside the project area. You adopt the budget, that the City Council approve the change order with emphasis, and that the Housing Authority enter into the agreement with HHP.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That $7.5 million that's going to be transferred to the housing fund account, is that amount available? Is it available immediately to look for a project for an affordable housing?
It will be available immediately for spending July 1.
July 1?
July 1.
When are you coming back from vacation? Okay, thank you.
My question is, and then what will be the total amount that we have on hand for another project?
It'll be about $15 million. We have seven and a half, 8 now. with that $7.5 million, about $15 million. And we are looking for, the statement of interest that you approved last week is another of our attempts to look for that next project.
Okay, and you are looking for votes on each one of these items, A, B, C, and D?
Yes, sir, I think A and C.
A and D are, A is a resolution of the city council, D is a motion of the city council, so those can be moved together.
A and D? you said?
A and D is in David.
Okay,
B and C are housing authority items, and those can be moved together.
very well. For council, will someone move A and D?
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, we have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Agajanian?
Yes.
Divine?
Yes.
Garpetian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Mayor Sinanian?
Thank you. And for housing, will someone move B and C?
So moved.
Second.
And we have the roll call for housing.
All right, member Divine?
Yes.
Garpetian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Parazian?
Yes.
Sinanian?
Yes.
Chair Agajanian?
Yes.
Do we have anything else on the agenda?
We have adjournment.
We have a motion for council.
So moved.
Second.
How about for housing?
So moved.
Second.
We're adjourned. And